Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Peter Murphy begins now.
Good evening, everyone. A delicate operation to transfer dozens of sick patients from the state's 2 virus-riddled hospitals has been carried out to make way for a comprehensive clean at the facilities. Thousands are in quarantine tonight as the northwest community grapples with the outbreak. Our reporter Letitia Wallace has more.
There are eerie scenes here in Burnie, which is the epicentre of Tasmania's coronavirus outbreak. One by one, ambulances lined up this morning to collect and transfer around 24 patients from the Northwest regional and private hospitals to the Mersey Community Hospital in Latrobe. Workers in PPE removed contaminated material from the site to prepare for a deep clean of both facilities.
The hospital is the backbone of our community in a lot of ways, and it's good to see that all resources have been thrown at it, and we'll come out of this better and stronger.
While on the main streets of Burnie, shops were bare as new measures have forced thousands into quarantine and many non-essential businesses to close.
It's going to impact on them, and it's going to impact on everybody else, but they are in isolation, not spreading the risk. Containment is what is needed, and we're heading in the right direction with this.
Tasmanian Senator Jackie Lambie is among those isolating inside her home in Burnie.
It's really been soul destroying, especially for those small businesses out there and the many people that have already lost their jobs. That's really, really difficult.
Testing for coronavirus is ramping up across the northwest, with an extra drive-through facility being set up at the Parkside Community Mental Health Precinct in Burnie.
We really do want to ramp up testing, particularly of people who've got any links to the hospital, but also anyone in the community with respiratory symptoms.
So far, 60 people are linked to the hospital outbreak, the majority of those healthcare workers. It's believed the outbreak may have stemmed from a Ruby Princess passenger, but that's still being investigated.
That's obviously one of our strongest leads for looking at the source of the infection.
The federal government is deploying Australian Defence Force personnel and medical assistance teams to the northwest to undertake this enormous operation.
Yes, and those interstate teams of top medical experts and Defence Force personnel will soon hit the ground running to assist in what's been called the fight of our lives. The outside help comes as the dust settles on a new way of life for northwest coasters.
2 weeks ago, the ADF was learning to conduct virus testing. Now, members are being flown in on a hospital rescue mission, supporting top medical experts as they fill the void left by the forced quarantine of more than 1,000 healthcare workers at the Northwest Regional Hospital.
We are going to deploy these clean staff that are being provided from the ADF and from AUSMAT to Burnie to enable emergency department presentations within 72 hours.
It's likely to be up to a capacity of 40 personnel arriving in the course of the next 36 hours.
That additional support is welcomed at a really difficult and challenging time for those on the northwest coast.
Right now, Burnie's 2 main hospitals are closed and undergoing deep or super cleans from specialist crews.
That's never been done before in 100 years. It is an extreme measure, but it's a measure that we have needed to take.
They have responded, I think, as well as anybody could possibly have hoped. They have immediately taken steps to protect staff and protect patients.
The emergency department is the first priority to be reopened, then the maternity ward at the private. From there, there'll be a staggered reopening of other services. For now, though, extra GPs are open. There's more ambulances and aeromedical support.
We have plans in place to make sure that you get the highest quality care.
Many patients from the closed hospitals have been taken to the Mersey. Additional resources deployed, including PPE and staff, brought in under specialised guidance.
And also the geographical separation on that site of patients that are COVID positive as well as patients that are not COVID positive.
Overnight, 11 more cases recorded, the majority healthcare workers in the northwest. Peter Gutwin not mincing his words about heeding warnings as around 5,000 people head into forced isolation.
The actions that we've taken are unprecedented. I don't think any Premier ever in the history of this state has had to ask so many people to do so much.
Pleading with all Tasmanians to help him out.
1 death is too many, 5 is distressing, and unfortunately there will be more.
Louise Huber, 7 Tasmania News.
The economic effects from this partial lockdown could be immediate, with the top economist warning of temporary labour shortages. The region's recovery following some high-profile company collapses is likely to take a lot longer.
The sound of foot traffic has fallen silent. The coast is closed for business.
Even with those best endeavours on the part of government, though, my sense is that in northwest Tasmania, as in other parts of the state and other parts of the country, the recovery period, whenever it is allowed to start, is going to be fairly slow.
Respected economist Saul Eslake warns this is more than 2 weeks of pain for those stuck at home as people draw down what's left of their savings.
And when this particular form of shutdown comes to an end, those households will be less well placed to return to more normal levels of activity.
A smattering of local businesses will be affected as family members of health workers who would normally go to work are forced into quarantine. Naturally, industries where employees are needed on site will be hardest hit.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there were at least a few businesses who are allowed to continue operating, for example, in manufacturing or in agriculture, who find that some of their workforce aren't able to come to work.
Before now, few have studied what a pandemic economy would look like, and with a lack of lived history, the Burnie City Council is offering relief measures similar to those in other municipalities.
We don't want to be out there throwing this and throwing that. I think it's probably better to have a legitimate industry standard that's set rather than councils trying to gazump each other with support packages.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
As the long weekend begins to wrap up, police say they're impressed by the majority of Tasmanians who have stayed home for Easter. But some have still flouted the rules, with the public urged to stay vigilant as patrols increase in the epicentre of the state's outbreak.
Scouring a popular beach, this officer patrolling Tasmania from above. Police saying yesterday saw a reduction in travel breaches amid statewide checks over Easter.
There have been fewer people on the road, we've noticed. There have only been 6 arrests for breaching directions of the Director of Public Health. I think on the whole that our public are heeding the warnings, so they are staying at home.
But also reporting 2 men were intercepted after travelling from Railton to Strawn.
They'd stopped and got coffee and fuel and so forth. Over this 500-kilometre journey, they'd put others at risk by going between communities. This is not acceptable. This is not what we should be doing, and this is not what's expected of our public.
The best weapon that we have to beat this is to follow the rules, make sure that you appropriately socially distance, make sure that you take responsibility for your own health, your own life, but importantly for the lives of your family and the lives of our community.
Warning, though Easter may be over, patrols will continue.
The Northwest will have a particular focus, but I can assure you that we will still have police in all the regions around Tasmania to protect the community.
That focus including ramping up resources as the Northwest grapples with a developing outbreak.
We'll increase our police presence up there, and that'll be with the compliance checks that are being doing, phone calls that might happen, and you might see more cars on the road as well.
With community members reminded they can report those breaking the rules anonymously.
We're seeing a lot of reports and we're seeing a lot of successful compliance checks. The police resources need to be used the best way they can, so the community playing its part in keeping Tasmania safe in our communities has been absolutely helpful.
Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
Only a year after fulfilling his dream of making gin, a Tasmanian distiller is being forced to overhaul production. Justin Turner is now in the sanitizer business. The future is in his hands.
Starting a new business venture is hard enough. Imagine doing it twice in barely a year.
If you had told me just 3 weeks ago that I would be making hand sanitizer, I couldn't have even contemplated it.
Justin Turner is the mastermind behind the award-winning 3 Cuts Gin. For now, Mr. Turner's washing his hands of the popular product, instead pumping out 1,500 litres of hand sanitizer in the past 2 weeks.
We already have a lot of the core ingredients and production facility here to make it, so it wasn't as difficult as you may have thought, but we certainly had to learn, the different formula and recipes to do it.
Like a good gin, a good sanitizer follows a carefully crafted recipe. The only difference is this one comes from the World Health Organisation. Having seen cases of price gouging elsewhere, Mr. Turner says keeping a fair price is paramount.
We're not really trying to make a huge profit, I'm just trying to keep our employees, going here.
The glass bottles look stylish, but they're more of a necessity. A severe shortage of plastic pump bottles means the distillery is simply using what's available to get its product to market.
Whatever you do, just don't get them confused. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
An aged care facility on Tasmania's northwest is pleading for everyone to stay home through social media. Residents from Respect Aged Care at Penguin posting a Facebook video on how the public can keep them safe as their region battles through the major coronavirus outbreak.
I'm classed as elderly and at high risk, but I feel 21.
I've got a lot of living to do. Please stay home and stop the spread. Love to all my family.
Strict social distancing rules were placed on the Northwest facility last night. While most passenger flights have stopped touching down in Launceston, the airport has seen one unexpected arrival. This adventurous traveller, looking a little weary, found himself plodding around in the car park, much to the delight of this airport worker.
G'day mate, can't you find your car? Hey, you lost your car.
The Wombat continued on his mission, eventually finding his way home, no doubt soon to embark on another exciting adventure.
Good evening everyone. Temperatures are below average today with Launceston 17 degrees, Devonport and Burnie reaching 16 and Hobart a top of 15. Around the state today, the islands, St Helens and Friendly Beaches 17 degrees, 16 in Low Head, Grove and Ooze, Smithton 15 and Strawn reaching 13. Extensive middle-level cloud covered the state today, masking lower cloud underneath. Across Australia, convective cloud can be seen along eastern New South Wales and Queensland. Cloud associated with showers and thunderstorms can be seen to the upper northwest of Western Australia. Low cloud over Tasmania is trapped under a high-pressure system, although an upper-level system is also producing middle and high cloud in the same area. Tomorrow's chart shows a weak front clipping the south of Tasmania as another front weakens to the south of the Bight. The high will remain over New South Wales, although splitting to two high centres as the trough over Queensland intrudes. West to northwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots tomorrow, although 20 to 25 knots in the southwest. Partly cloudy and 21 in Hobart tomorrow, 18 in Adventure Bay, Tarraleah 16. 19 in Launceston, possible showers and 18 in Devonport, Bridport 19. Burnie 18, showers and 17 in Strawn and Marrawar. And in the east, St Helens partly cloudy and 20, 21 in Swansea and Whitemark reaching 19. Looking on to Wednesday now, rain developing about the north in the morning, extending statewide in the afternoon. Rain easing to showers on Thursday, contracting to the west and far south. And on Friday, mainly fine about the northeast with showers elsewhere. 25 in Perth tomorrow, Adelaide mostly sunny, Melbourne 23 and 28 in Brisbane. And currently it's mostly cloudy across the state with Hobart 13 degrees, Launceston also 13 and 14 degrees in Devonport. And Peter, that's the weather tonight.
That's all our news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good night.